Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach coaching call every Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock Pacific. We're here to have the industry's absolute best sales meeting. I am focused on delivering sales insight, sales advice that will help you be more successful as mortgage professionals. My name is Dave Savage. I want to urge you to connect with me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, my Tumblr blog has been reactivated. And make sure that you're connecting with Mortgage Coach. You know, we've got a very robust YouTube page. So this video, along with all of our weekly calls, are put up within hours. Plus, our training and support team is constantly putting in new features, new teachings on how to deliver advice with Mortgage Coach. Our newest innovation in social media is Jeremy, one of our success coaches, has taken a very active role in our LinkedIn community. So that is by permission only, so you need to get our permission to get in there, but we've got over 2,000 loan officers and realtors in there. And the promise is really quality insights and connecting with loan officers and realtors. So Jeremy will be taking notes on today's call, and those notes will be in our LinkedIn community immediately following today's call. And again, make sure you like us, engage with us, and pay attention to the Facebook page. Today, I think this is the third time I've interviewed you, Rick. It's good to have you here, my friend.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I do believe this is the third time on.
Yeah, third time. And then, of course, we saw each other at Sales Mastery, and you were one of the speakers at Sales Masteries a few years back. And it's always an honor to have you, and I always know it's going to be a great call.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it very much. I always enjoy being here, and it was a great time at Sales Mastery.
Yeah, well, I'm going to officially bring you in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned, and also feel free to add some color to the conversation that myself and Matt Dollinger are going to have. Matt is Steve Harney's partner with the Bridge Builders program. Some of you may remember him from the call I did with Steve Harney a few weeks back. Well, actually, I did two calls. I did a webinar and a coaching call. So, Matt, it's good to have you here, my friend.
Good to be here. I really appreciate the time, Dave.
Good. Well, feel free to not only share the insights that you're going to share in just a minute, doing the debrief on the Inman Connect event. I asked Matt to come here because he attended a very big event that I think, as mortgage professionals that want to partner with realtors, I think it will be a good debrief. But feel free to chime in as I'm doing a breakdown on last week's call. All right.
Sounds great.
So I had Tom Ferry last week, and if you didn't listen to the call, I recommend that you do. There were some takeaways and things that he said that I thought were really important. And then after reflecting on the call, listening to it again myself, there's some things I just wanted to make sure you guys connected the dots on. And one of them is just this statement right here, that the single biggest incremental opportunity to get more referrals from realtors isn't your service or your loan programs, but it's the quality of the insight you deliver as part of your sales experience. To me, that's a really powerful statement. It's a lot easier said than done, but this is the path forward. And this was a big takeaway from that call and the Steve Harney call and so many calls that we've been having lately. So one of the ways that this got set up, and I kind of pulled this inside of the call, was I had asked Matt, what are some of the realtors' biggest challenges? And when you think about it, as a mortgage professional, it's if you can figure out what's currently costing your realtors more money than they realize, so you can kind of uncover something they didn't realize was a problem, show that it's a problem, and you can actually help them fix it, you're going to get a lot of referrals. You're going to accelerate trust. So when I asked Matt that question, what are realtors' biggest problems, he didn't have to think about it. It wasn't like, oh, let me think about that. It was really clear: poor organization. They do not have great organizational skills. And second to that, and maybe not second to that, depends on who the realtor is, they don't have good sales conversion. Realtors convert less of their leads than mortgage professionals. So if you as a mortgage professional can bring leadership, insights, and services so that you can make an inspired promise, not the blah, blah conversation that every other loan officer is having, but if you could say, you know what, I'm going to help you improve your sales conversion. So the number, right now you're converting 1 out of 7 home buyers. What if I could help you convert 2? Would that be interesting? And what if in the process of doing that, I could help save conversations? I could actually make the handoff to me as the mortgage pro a more efficient way of doing business for you. So when you really net it out, this is the promise that I pulled out of that call last week, is you as a mortgage coach professional, start making the promise, if referring a home buyer to me would actually increase your sales conversion and save you a few phone calls, would that be interesting to you? To me, that was powerful. By the way, I ran this by Jeremy Forcier, who's a longtime mortgage coach member, and he's like, Dave, this is brilliant. This is not what every other mortgage professional is doing. By the way, most mortgage professionals, even if they said it, they couldn't do it. They don't have the sales experience. They're not delivering the advice. They don't have the tools. They couldn't even do this if they wanted to do it. But as a mortgage coach loan officer, you could do this. So, hey, Matt, before I bring you in for the debrief, any comments around what I just shared as a takeaway from last week's call?
Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Tom Ferry, and he is literally one of the golden standards in the real estate industry, and there's probably nobody out there that understands realtors and their challenges more. I think that the core organization for sales conversion are two key points, and I think that one of the things that he brings up there is that the quality service and the good rates, that's almost understood. I mean, that's pretty much accepted in that's going to happen. Like, going to a restaurant and realizing that you're not going to get junky food or crappy food. So it's what, in addition to that, can you bring to the table to really have that relationship stand out? And I think Tom, hits that right on the head right there.
I tend to agree. Rick, by the way, before we continue with the debrief with Matt, anything you want to add to that particular takeaway and comment?
No, I apologize. I was looking at something else.
All right, no problem. Yeah, it's all good, man. Hey, so Matt, you attended a big event for realtors recently, Inman Connect, and if you wouldn't mind, one, just kind of share with the Mortgage Coach group what is Inman Connect, and two, what were some of the takeaways that you think are relevant to Mortgage Coach members?
Sure. So Inman Connect is probably the largest real estate gathering, if you will, in the industry. And they do 2 a year. One is in New York, one is in San Francisco. You can find more information at inman.com. But every year, Brad Inman, who's started the conference 10, 15 years ago, tries to really bring it in and say, what are the most timely topics that the real estate industry, brokers, managers, et cetera, the industry as a whole, are currently facing. And, I think there were 3,000 brokers, managers, agents, tech vendors, et cetera, who attended this in New York. San Francisco is usually held, I believe, in like July. So if you want to put that on your calendar as something to attend, it's a great way to get great insight, not only into the real estate agent, but into business as a whole. He brings in great speakers. Ariana Huffington was one of the people who presented this year. But the idea of Inman Connect New York was the connected generation powered by partnerships. And just to launch in, I put a couple of quick slides here together. But the idea is that the partnerships really are what is moving the industry today. And so, everything from the partnership between the MLS and the broker, the syndication portals and the broker and the agent, the broker and the agent and their client. And they did talk a little bit about the partnership of lenders in this, which was very interesting as well, that they actually talked about, how you can leverage your lender partnerships. And so, where Dave and I had met at Sales Mastery, and I walked in on, and this was kind of new to me as far as the relationship of the lender to the agent. There's been just in complete vice versa. The agent is looking at the relationship between them and their lending partners and really what they are bringing to the table. The four major takeaways, and this was a 4-day event, was that number one, what is the business strategy? Which I was jumping up and down in the back of the room for, because so much over the last 4 years, the real estate industry has been plagued with what I like to refer to as shiny object syndrome. Moving away from those core competencies of sales and prospecting and lead generation and development, but really getting sidetracked by social media, and hell, one of the breakout sessions was actually on drone technology. So they haven't moved completely away from that, but really looking at their business as a strategy and saying, what can I automate and how do I save time? Which, if you talk to any real estate agent today who's doing business, that's their number one challenge today, is how do they automate things? How do they save time in their business? Because if they're doing 50, 60, 100 transactions, each one of those transactions takes a tremendous amount of time out of their day. The second major takeaway was something which is conversion of online leads. Many agents have started to look beyond their sphere of influence or their database and into how do I add more business to my, how do I grow my business outside of my past clients and things like that. So the generation and the conversion of the online leads. Kind of going back to the first one, the business strategy, is that, thank goodness, agents are actually starting to look at profitability of their business. Any of the lenders who are on the call who have actually sat down with an agent and asked them what their GCI, which stands for gross commission income at the end of the year, or what they actually earned, they usually get a blank stare in the face of their agents because they are not focused on the numbers. Really focusing on profitability and finding out how much money they're actually making. And the last one here, and I think that this is a huge, huge opportunity for all the loan officers and lenders on the call today, is that there is a continued strained relationship between the broker or the company and the agent. As the broker is focused more on profitability and things like that, the agent is getting squeezed on the value that the broker or the company is really providing, whether that be market insight, how to market themselves, how to convert leads, and all the things above, profitability, business strategy. These are the things that the broker is supposed to bring to the table, and they really aren't. The reason for this is that most of the brokers out there, they know how to coach new agents. They know how to help them up to a certain point, whether that be $5 million, $6 million, $7 million in production. But for the most part, when the agent surpasses that, they've essentially outgrown the knowledge and the value that the broker can bring to the table. So if the lender out there can almost insert themselves as that value provider, and not talk badly about the brokerage or the company they've chosen to align themselves with, but really start bringing that value and that insight, as Tom had talked about, to the table, I think there's a huge opportunity there. So, this is I think the partnerships, this sums up the relationship between lender and an agent really, really well right here. It's just that there is forming these partnerships, those loan officers who are doing business with agents, they've established themselves more than just somebody who takes them out for coffee, buys them lunch, brings rate sheets to their open houses or something like that, or does a good job on the deal, but they've really established themselves as a partner. And so some of the evaluation of these partners that was talked about at Inman are put on here on this slide. What is the true value to your organization? So yes, your loan officer, your chosen loan officer, they get the deal done and they offer good rates, but so do X, Y, and Z down the table. What is the additional value that they're bringing to the table? How do you evaluate these trusted partners? So-and-so brings coffee and donuts to my open houses or my broker open. This person gives you really good insight into technology, business strategies, and insight into the market. How do I evaluate these, and really who are my trusted partners? What are they doing to earn your trust? Going above and beyond, not just saying, I'm going to compete on rates, because that's almost a commodity, but really establishing themselves as a premium partner in the industry. And the big thing, digital drives professional. The big thing that always comes back here is that they talk about the fact that these people, they connect on Facebook, they connect on LinkedIn, et cetera, but the personal partnership is what really brings it down to the pressing the palm, and that's what really earns the trust. Still, we're in a people-based business. One other huge topic, content marketing. What this is essentially providing insight content, if you will, in terms of marketing. So not just showing them what the rates are today, but what factors led to this, and providing the agent with content that they can use either in email newsletters, on their blogs, on their website, whatever, to drive inbound traffic. They went through the big challenge is that agents are not marketing people. They're not content creators by nature. They're salespeople. So what can you as a lender do to really set yourself apart? What makes for great content? What is engaging? How do you post and create this for true value? How do you engage your consumers? And how do you drive this, for SEO value to your site? Going back to the online leads, how do you start using, insight into the market, custom written, organic content on your site to really stand out from your competition? Another big point was data. What data are you providing your partners? What is it? Market insight? Is it sold listings? Is it available listings? Is it insight into what's going to happen in 2014? A lot of the agents know this. They have this up in their head, but they don't have it in a way that they can provide it to their clients in a usable and engaging format. And really understanding what do your consumers want. The big thing is that most people think that their consumers sit around and think about real estate all the time. They don't, but they want to know at certain points what is affecting. They heard something on MSNBC or CNN or something. What does the taper really mean to me as a seller who's looking to list their home in the spring? This ties straight into Edge and everything else that the mortgage coach and Dave really bring to the table is mobile. And you could probably cross off mobile and say technology as a whole here, but really evaluating what technology are the consumers using, how do they capitalize on this, and how do you use this as a strategy to get in front of your consumers and continue that relationship. Rick and I were talking really quickly before the call, and he talked about the fact that his business that he's done is primarily focused around relationship with past clients. What can you bring to the table to help these agents really understand that this, engaging them not only on the desktop but also on mobile and video and all this other stuff to really stand out from the crowd? And the last part is personal relationships. The questions I would ask myself if I was a loan officer right now is, what am I doing to secure these personal relationships? How am I differentiating myself, and what value am I really providing them? Going back to Edge, I think that the Edge hits all four things on this and really allows you to not only provide the stuff that drives the relationship, but also differentiates yourself from the competition. The last thing, they do have a vendor alley, so they show the best and the greatest of 2013-14 with regards to technology. These were the three things that after combing the halls, what I found are awesome, and I would take a look at all of them, not only as a recommendation to your realtor partners, but also that might actually help you in the business. Number one is contractually. Dave and I talked about this out at Sales Mastery. I think these guys are the coolest new CRM out there. They actually sit in between. They're a platform that sits in between or connects to your email accounts. It actually will go through and say if Dave and I have emailed one another 5 times a week for the last week, and then next week I don't, it'll actually pop Dave's contact information right up in front of me and say, hey, you haven't emailed Dave Savage in 5 days. You better follow up with him. I'm actually working with the guys who started this company to help them move into the mortgage vertical, which they have not done yet specifically. And really, I think they're just an awesome platform and something that not only you could use for your own nurturing of relationships, but you could recommend to your lending or your agent partners as well. The second one, this is so simple, but honestly, out of all the technology, I thought they were the best one out there. It's a company called Updater. Now, this is in beta. You have to get up on the sign-up list, and you can do that down here in the right-hand corner where it says signup.updater.com. They have a platform, a real estate industry platform, where when a client is closing, you put their email address into the Updater system. It sends them an email link branded with your picture, your logo, all of your information, and gives them a link where they can update their post office, cable, bills, magazine subscriptions, etc., all with the touch of a button. It is so unbelievably simple but usable, and those are the two things that I love about technology. It's available in a ton of markets out there, and really, I mean, this is such a no-brainer that I just go to signup.ifdata.com and sign up today. The last one, now this is only available in certain markets, but most of your markets that you're working in have some kind of real estate data visualization. But I would check out this product because I thought it was amazingly cool. It's called InfoSparks by a company out of Minneapolis called 10K Research. And what they actually allow you to do is go in, it's plugged into the MLS, and the agent can actually go in and compare Minneapolis versus St. Paul versus a zip code versus a super small local, hyper-local area, and it'll allow them to show, here's the difference with regards to sale prices over the last 12 years, sales prices, inventory, whatever, and visualize this information to really get a better understanding of what the market is doing. It allows you to really complement what we're doing at Bridge Builders and take that information down to a super local level and really stand out. So highly recommend you take a look if that's in the market that you are working in right now. Might be something you recommend to your realtor partners or your broker partners. And if they don't have 10K, I might ask them what other tools they have out there that are available to really set the stage and use in their content marketing strategies, their differentiation, to really understanding the market and providing that insight to the consumer.
All right. So great update, Matt. Any other last thoughts before we bring in the main show here?
No, I mean, I think that 2014 really is the perfect way to go and, start looking at this partnership. The only thing I would really stress is that the partnership has moved beyond just, I like this guy and I trust him. I think there's a huge gaping hole in the industry to say, who can be my trusted partner? Who can help me with my business? And I think that the mortgage industry has a ton of skills and insight into this category of the market that can be brought to the real estate partner. And, I think there's a great opportunity for those that can, take that information and really differentiate themselves via value and service in 2014.
Well, thanks for breaking down and sharing your big takeaways from that event. Really appreciate it. Feel free to stay on the call. I want to remind everybody, Matt created an awesome Why Buy Now Mortgage Coach experience. If you just put Harney into the Mortgage Coach mobile app, you can drive that experience. Also, if you're not familiar with what Bridge Builders is, make sure you go check out the Bridge Builders website. There'll be a link to it on our Facebook page in follow-up to the call, and it will be in the notes that we have in LinkedIn. So again, make sure you're paying attention to the Mortgage Coach mobile app. And it's time for the main guest, Mr. Rima. Rick, it's great to have you on here. Like I said, to kick off the call, this is your third time. You were at Sales Mastery a few years back, and I just love your message because, I don't want to say it's simple, but it is simple. It's just not easy, and you've got a great strategy for working hard, working smart, and being incredibly successful in today's market. So Rick, if you could, for anybody that hasn't heard you before, just quickly share what market you're in and a little bit about your production levels, and then we'll get into a conversation that will be valuable for everybody.
Yeah, well, Dave, I appreciate you having me on. And I am a mortgage loan officer, just like probably most of the people on the call. And I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have about 1.6 million people here. Average price of a home is about $160,000. Our market's been pretty much like everybody else's. We don't see huge increases. We don't see huge decreases normally. Market stays pretty steady for the most part, although, as I think everybody's seen, markets have dropped since last June. Home buying seems to be gone. Refinances for a lot of people seem to be gone. But that's kind of our market, and I've kind of done the same things through the good and the bad times. My belief is and the biggest thing I see people not doing is, and this is a real big secret. It's called work, W-O-R-K, and that's what I notice most people don't do. And especially when it slows down, they really don't work. And it amazes me, because I think a lot of the problems that people have through trying to do mortgages and trying to get out there is they don't do the little things. They don't work. We sit around and I watch people do this. They talk and they talk to each other and they talk about what's going on and they talk about how bad it is, and they don't do anything to change their situation. And my belief is, and I agree a lot with what Matt said, you know, you have to have a system in place to consistently work with and follow up with your customers and keep in contact with your customers, keep in contact with any of your partners, so that you can, you know, build your business and increase your business and bring the loans in. Now, for me, my volume you asked about, in the last 2 years, I've closed just over 1,200 loans, and over I don't know, the last 5 years. I don't really watch my numbers. Everybody else watches my numbers. I don't really watch my numbers. I watch, you know, as long as my loans are coming in and going out and the paycheck's there and I'm bringing them in, that's kind of what I do. But when Dave asked me to be on, I kind of look at those numbers, but I didn't look back past the last 2 years. I'm like 1,243 loans over the last 2 years. Those are closings. And for me, so that I know a lot of people think, well, he works at a bank, they give him leads. The bank doesn't give me any leads. They don't pay very well on the leads they hand out, so I've chosen not to use any of their leads. I develop all my own leads. And I do that generally with current customers. That's how I've always pushed my market. That's what I've always pushed to bring people in the door. I use those people I'm already working with, and I have done business with. And the way that I do that is I keep in constant contact with my current customer base. I have a CRM, customer. I don't really know. I can't remember what CRM stands for, but that follows up automatically with my group of customers, with my clients. And I believe you have to follow up 30 times a year. And you have to make your information relevant. It's one of those things I'm actually changing right now. I'm always changing things, trying to make it better. So for me, I'm changing those things that I send out. I'm working on sending out different information on that constant follow-up. I use Mortgage Coach to keep in touch with my customers. I started doing it once a year as an annual review. I've gone to having it pop up at least every 3 months. Sometimes I don't do it every 3 months. I may not do it like for every 6 months, and some people I may wait for a year. But even if rates have gone up, people want to know what the current market rates are going to do with their mortgage. And a lot of people have misinformation. They don't know what's out there. So I use Mortgage Coach. I put together a email actually through Mortgage Coach. I put together they put their current mortgage situation, what they're at, what their payments are, what their interest rate is, and then I'll give them anywhere from 2 to 4 options, normally 4, but somewhere in that 2 to 4 range. I'll show rates. I'll show fixed rates, same term, shortening the term. I'll show ARMs, and then in my email I'll let them know whether they should move, you know, whether this makes sense or not, or if they're thinking short term, maybe they should be on an ARM product, so I show an ARM. Maybe they're not going to be there very long. Historically, I looked up the details. 72% of all mortgages are closed out in 5 years. 99.8% are closed out in the first 10 years. I checked with our bank, and we've had like, and we're a huge volume lender. Sorry, Dave, I'm not following your script.
There's no script, so I mean keep rolling. The only thing I do want, a number of people have asked which CRM you use, so I do want to get that question answered because people are asking.
I use a CRM called Be in Touch Mortgage. It's beintouchmortgage.com or .net. That's the system I use. It does all the automatics, and that's the big thing. When you're going to do volume, one of the reasons if you're working, you can work yourself to death. And so you have to work hard, work smart. You have to work smart too. So on a CRM is really valuable in keeping your customer base, getting them the information that you want while you're doing other things. So you set it up. I have automatic emails that goes out, drip campaigns that go out. That's some of the things I'm gonna change a little bit, make those I think a little better, a little bit more relevant. I also use something called BombBomb, which is a video email system. I always wanted something that you could send a video email, very much like Edge, but not anywhere near the same. You don't have anywhere near the detail, and you don't have the mortgage information in there, but something that I can consistently send out. So like if I have somebody do a pre-approval with me, I have a 10-step email that goes out that's video, and it gives them the 10 biggest mistakes home buyers make and how to avoid them. And if I have somebody looking at listing their home, I have the 10 biggest mistakes home buyer or sellers make and how to avoid them. So I do things like that to try to keep myself in touch without me have to do all the calls, all the emails each time. So a CRM is one of the first things you should do. I also now have 2 assistants. I don't take any of my own applications. I have 2 people who they take all my applications and follow my files through process. Again, those are $10 an hour jobs, and I'm not a $10 an hour person. So I have people, those jobs like that I don't do. I have somebody who will take care of those things for me.
So a couple things. A number of questions have come up around links to things. So we will put links in our notes that will be in our LinkedIn group, so FYI on that. I do want to speak to the CRM piece. We here at Mortgage Coach have partnered with Mortgage Planner CRM. Mike Kulitz is the partner, and they've built a beautiful integration from their product to Edge. My message on that is there's a lot of great CRMs, and I don't know the one you mentioned, Rick, really well, although I've heard good things about it from other folks. My message to everybody on this call, there are a lot of great CRMs. I'm sure contactually it's great. Obviously in the real estate space, realtors are using it. My big shout out for everybody that said, what's your CRM? My answer as to what Rick's CRM is, it's a CRM that he uses. And he uses it really consistently, really regularly with his clients. And there's not a lot of CRMs in today's market that if you use them really consistently, you use them really well, you won't get really good results from. So again, everybody's gonna pick their horse. Our partnership and our integration right now is with Mortgage Planner CRM, and there's a great integration. But I just urge everybody, when you think of that, it's about what you do with the CRM that matters most. Rick, do you agree with that thought?
100%. I have seen more people who've used this or who've had a CRM fail because they never used it. And I agree 100%. I started out with a very easy CRM, hardly did anything, and today I use one. I'm not saying what I use is the best one. I've used it so long that I have like, with my real different partners that I have in there, with all my customers, I have like 12,000 or 13,000 people in there. It's just too cumbersome to change.
Right on, right on.
But
so, and again, when we use, let's break that down real quick. Using it means updating conversations. Using it means making sure that you have accurate contact information. Using it means that people, whatever your life of customer contact plan is, you're executing on it. Everybody is getting something of value, of interest, once a month. And Rick, I know you're a big proponent. On this slide right here, I showed Edge. It's part of how you sell and deliver customer insight, but it's also part of how you give annual reviews. If you wouldn't mind speaking a little bit to your annual review process, because that's such a valuable touch point. I don't know how many loans you're getting from that touch point right now, but if you could just speak a little bit to that strategy.
You know, and sometimes it's even hard to tell you how many you actually are getting from the strategy, because just because I talk to somebody or I send them that information from Edge, and they, even though they don't do it, I get a lot of referrals from those people. So I do get loans. I don't follow all that. Normally I would see about 10% of my loans coming from my emails that I do in Edge and send to my customers as an annual report. And the annual report is just giving them, as I said, usually 2 to 4 different options. Normally I will put in their I always put their current mortgage so they can see where they're at today, as best as I can do that. Some of them, they're with our bank. I have exact information. Some of them, we have a correspondent division. They aren't with our bank, and I put that information in more as, I estimate what they would be at. And then I put 4 different options generally. That's my preference, but sometimes if they're dependent on their situation, it may only be 2. I will usually show the same term that they have currently. I'll show a shorter term, and then I may or may not show even a shorter term, or I may show some ARM products. There's one with 3. I don't remember why I only did that one with 3. Normally there would be 1 more in there, but in this, because they were a 15-year. That's why I did it with just 3 on that one. Here's one with 4. It's really, this one is more just 4 different options on a refi, which shows, this one happened to be, I had a 1/4 point add to get to 3.5%. So I wanted to give them both options. So you can see in the cash to close, there's a little bit more cash needed for the 3.5%. But I always do, as you can see, I always do a video with it. I explain what this is in the video, and you can see I've got a face for radio. So everybody should be able to do this. I don't have great lighting. I do a lot of videos, but this happens to be right off my computer, and I don't have great lighting in my office. So I do the best I can with these videos. But I think that's the key is you have to make them, they have to be easy for you to do, quick to do, and easy to set up on Edge. They're extremely easy. And I just go through the summary. I explain what it is. You can see the yellow highlights. That's all part of what you can do in the Edge. Showing them the difference in rates, showing them, the difference in whether they did a 10-year or a 15-year. Then I talk a little bit about the monthly payments. I talk about the savings over 60 months. That's a huge deal. I push that quite a bit. So, as you can see in there, at 3.5% over their current mortgage, they save $15,000, almost $16,000 over the first 60 months. So that's huge savings. They should definitely do that. And then I show how much they're going to save, principal paid in 10 years. I use the current mortgage, and then, what they're going to pay and the other options over the first 10 years. I used 10 years in that case because that's my shortest term. If I had a 5-year term in there, I would use 5 years. If my shortest term was a 20-year, it would be 20 years. Or probably if I did a 20-year, it would be 15 years. Normally, I use 15 years or shorter. So that's how I do that. And that's very, very effective. You'll get mortgages. You will get loans out of this. And you'll also get people who call you. Other people do loans with me because of this information. They sent somebody who they showed this to somebody they know. That person calls me and says, my person doesn't do this. I want the same information. You do it every year. I want the same information. And they've changed their mortgage to me with very little savings so that they could take advantage of seeing this on a yearly basis.
So I want to connect the dots for everybody on this to make sure you connect the dots. Every customer is getting this amazing annual review. So when they come to meet with Rick, they're getting this great mortgage options with video. When it comes time for their annual review, they're getting mortgage options with videos. So by the way, if you actually delivered on that and you were talking to a realtor and you were saying, hey, I'm going to help you improve your conversion because everybody you hand off to me, I'm going to deliver simple mortgage options that they understand. I'm going to help them make a really simple and informed decision around mortgage. That's going to improve conversion rate, video on mobile, a unique and better advice. That's going to save phone calls. It's going to save time and money. And then every year, I'm having another conversation, and I can bring them back. I'm going to get more referrals. You're going to get more referrals. So just the nature of Rick's advice in terms of his platform, it's massive. It's massive in terms of the kind of value you can deliver. So kind of bringing it back to the whole work hard, there's a lot of people that come to work. They work all day responding to emails, doing busy work, researching products, solving loan problems, being available to non-producing realtors, and they're just busy. But they're not giving a great edge video to every client. They're not being very specific around the realtors that they're producing with. So part of Rick's magic is he's doing these simple things consistently, and he's also targeting top producers. So Rick, I want to transition a little bit. We could come back to some of your insight selling and how you deliver mortgage coach reports. But I know one of your priorities in terms of dealing with the market that we're at right now is partnering with realtors. And I know that you have, you've always had a fondness for radio, but I know you're doing some new things in radio. If you could speak to your strategy and how this helps you partner with realtors.
Yeah, and this is a change for me. I have had radio. I've had radio shows consistently for quite some time, for 5 or 6 years. One of the things that I've never done is I've really never worked with real estate agents. I've never liked the relationship between a real estate agent and a loan officer, mainly because the vast majority of loan officers go beg for business from a real estate agent, and that's just not my personality. I'm not any good at that. I'm not going to do it. So I've always avoided the real estate agents, and I've just worked directly with the consumer, and I've always been successful at that. I didn't need the agents. But I wanted to expand my business. With two assistants, I have a little bit more time. I happen to love what I do, so working isn't, you know, I say you have to work hard, but to me, most of this isn't work. It's fun to do. I enjoy it. Radio is one of those things I really enjoy doing. And by going to the radio and going after these real estate agents, it changes that dynamic where I don't beg them for business. They want to be on my radio show. It's called Indy's Real Estate Gurus. Now, the person sitting next to me, third from the left, is Jeff Cusick. He happens to be he signed up as my co-host. He's the second largest real estate agent in the state of Indiana. So he's a big fish. Didn't really know him. I'd met him, but I did not know him before the radio show. Before this taping of this, before we called, you know, this call with Dave, I was actually spent an hour and a half with him planning out our radio show, you know, doing some things like that. This happened to be at the home show that they just had in downtown Indianapolis at the fairgrounds. The person that we're talking to, that Jeff and I are talking to, she's the sales manager to a big builder here in Indianapolis. You know, so they actually built a centerpiece home. They're part of the show, so they're partnering with us also. We had two of their people on. She happens to be the sales manager. We had the construction manager on. We had a big developer on the show. I have quite a few real estate agents who also are part of the show, even with Jeff as the co-host. So this is, and I have home stager, have home inspection. Just a variety of people, and all of those people take all this information. We get them a show, we get them their segments, we get them in what you saw, like my introduction that Dave had up there with just me on there, that we make an introduction for every single person, that card there. Everybody who's on the show, they get that to send out before the show. They get a copy of the show. A lot of them put it, and we ask them to put it on their websites, put it on Facebook, put it on all the social media sites. They link back to us. And so it's been a pretty big boon, and being able to really partner with some people I probably never would have been able to partner with, and probably never would have partnered with, that's really helping increase business. And what's helped mostly is with Jeff being such a big producer, it's increased my average loan amount. So, you know, that's a big deal. My average loan amount last few years has been 160, and now, you know, we're looking more in the 280, 290 average loan range now because of having him as somebody who's sending, you know, he does the high-end homes. So it's been a great, it's a great piece to add. It is a lot of work. I would do the CRM first and get that going before I did a radio show, but a radio show is a tremendous amount of fun, and you have instant credibility. You become somebody who everybody looks at as in the know. You know what you're doing, and it does raise your profile, and it does increase your lending.
Well, we've had a number of hosts who are part of the Real Estate Radio Network on as guests, and obviously I have a bit of a role with my relationship with Ron Quintero, and so there's no doubt that this is a proven strategy, and it will help you get meetings with the top producing realtors, financial planners, attorneys, whoever the movers and shakers are in your market. You call them up and say, hey, would you like to be a guest on my radio show? They take your call. They treat you with respect. You get a meeting. Whether or not you convert that into business, you need to have a great platform. You need to deliver great insight. To Rick's point, you need to have a good CRM so that as you bring the relationships in, you keep the relationships. Rick, anything you have to say about Real Estate Radio, Ron Quintero, and how that program has served you?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things I hear people are worried about getting on the radio because they don't know what to do. With the Real Estate Radio Network, they teach you everything. So it is a tremendous amount of fun once you get over the nervousness, the fear that you might have. The radio is a tremendous amount of fun. I enjoy it, and I tell you, the Real Estate Radio Network makes it easy because they teach you everything that you need to know, and they work with you. They hold your hand as much or as little as you need it held.
Beautiful. So, by the way, if you want to get more information on Real Estate Radio Network, you can email me at Dave@MortgageCoach, and there will also be a link to more information to watch an informational video on the Real Estate Radio Network in the notes to this. So, again, something that I support, I recommend. A lot of great loan officers are having tremendous success. Todd Bookspan out of the Scottsdale market is going to be on the call next week. He's a host and has been for several years. Andy Tuttle, who's been on here a number of times. Chris Steven. I mean, just a lot of real top loan officers that want to build a presence in their local market, want to have some celebrity, want to increase their profile and their respect, and it's a great strategy to do that. Anything else you want to add to that before we kind of move back into workflow? Rick?
No, I would recommend anybody who has any interest that they do contact them, because it is a great way to add business, and it makes it more fun. It makes your job more fun, and it kind of invigorates you to get out there and do some things that maybe you wouldn't have done. And it does, as Dave said, it does make it much easier to talk to people. When you call them up and say, I'm Rick Ripma, host of Indy's Real Estate Gurus, it's pretty easy to get people to talk to you and want to talk to you.
Beautiful. So let's talk a little bit more about the insight you're delivering. So, I mean, we've gone through how your home buyers and your refinance folks, they're getting an edge report. We talked about the annual review that you're delivering. What are some other things that you're doing that just make you unique in your market? Well, we talked about radio. What are some other insights, and what are some things that are making you unique in your marketplace?
Well, I don't really follow what most people do, so I don't know what makes me unique. As far as, I couldn't tell you whether some people are or aren't doing that. I believe heavily in video. One of the things you were talking about, Dave, with the Edge is, it's an easy to understand platform. It's easy for people to look at it and see the value. And I tell you, if you don't do a video with it, explaining it, it's not as effective. The video is huge, and it does make it much more, understandable. But video, and I do a lot of video. I have a website, hardworkingmortgageguy.com. I have 100 and something videos on there explaining different pieces of the market, of what's going on, of how to buy a house, how to finance a house, all those kind of things. So I do a lot of video. Video, I think, is extremely important, can be very beneficial, which is what you were talking about before. So I think that's probably a piece that I like to do. I happen to set up a whole green screen room, and when I do things, I tend to go overboard. But I did a lot of work. You can do it very easily, and you can video with your phone now and get a pretty good video. But you can make things a lot easier. One of the things that I believe, and I do this with video, but you don't have to, is you can do it anyway. If you have a question that keeps coming up, set up an email in your CRM, set up a video in your CRM, set up some way to answer that so it doesn't come up anymore. Stop the customer from having to take their time out of their day to call you for something that happens every time. For instance, I did a video on the good faith estimate. When we send out our good faith estimate, they get a link to the video explaining the good faith estimate. It's not their good faith estimate. I don't do it on every single one. I just did one basic video, and my customers love it. They understand it, and we hardly get any calls on the good faith estimate any longer. So that's just one example, but I think as issues come up, and this works also with real estate agents. We get the same question from real estate agents 3 or 4 times. I fix that so we don't get that question anymore. And they may not notice it, but they don't have to talk to us anywhere near as much as they may with other lenders because we're proactive on taking care of those type of issues.
Beautiful. So by the way, again, just hearing you answer that question, most mortgage professionals don't use video at all, and then the ones that do don't do it consistently. So one, they never get as good at it as you do because you're doing it consistently. You're creating hundreds of videos, so you're getting pretty good at it. And so, I mean, I think that's a big takeaway for everybody. You want to stand out in this marketplace. Again, we make that easy for you. Just create an edge video for every single home buyer and loop in the realtor. That's a great strategy to do it, and work hard at that. So I'm going to do some wrap-up thoughts, and I think we will have some time for some Q&A. But I really urge folks on this call, let's start making this promise to realtors that, hey, if I can get a home buyer to actually increase the sales conversion through a better mortgage experience, through the move-up analysis, creating urgency around move-up buyers, or first-time home buyers, creating urgency with first-time home buyers, and if through my experience, through the experience of working with me, when you hand off a loan to me, it saves you time and it improves conversion, would that be a good thing? So what's the how? How does that actually happen? If you're a loan officer that's delivering fee worksheets and that is your sales experience, that's probably not the right answer. If you're still using the yellow sheet of paper and that's how you're taking 1003s and delivering advice, probably not the right answer. But if you're just sending an email, well formatted, everything's spelled right, everything's formatted properly, you've looped in the realtor, now the home buyer has access to that at their desktop, at their mobile device. It's an awesome home buyer experience, and it's an awesome realtor experience. And by the way, Rick, I don't know if you're doing this or not, but one of the best practices that we've been talking about and hearing out in the market is when you do get a referral from a realtor, part of your video, at the very beginning of the video, is just to honor the realtor. Make a quick comment. You're so lucky to be working with Brad, realtor. He's great. And then go right into your synopsis. I heard your goals were X. Here's a synopsis on your options. But now when the realtor is watching that, every time he makes the handoff, or he or she makes the handoff, they're seeing you honor the realtor, and they're seeing your amazing mortgage advice. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I actually do that. One of the things I noticed on the radio, it's one of the changes I've made, is the way that you get people to keep wanting to come on and they pay for their spots on the radio show is you just build them up. You stroke their egos, and they love hearing how great they are from somebody else, and so I do the same thing in the videos.
Beautiful. So make sure you always honor the realtor, and make sure you always loop in the home buyer and the realtor. And to just finish the story around story selling, being successful with realtors, is to make sure that you're always CCing the realtor. I'm going to do a survey in just 1 minute to find out, one, how many of you are doing that. And if you're not doing it and you're planning to do it, you can still say yes. And then the whole concept of story selling with the Edge app. We had a couple of our 3 members of our team go to Roberto Monica's training over the past 3 days down in San Diego. He had a very exclusive capped it at 20 people, 3-day immersion workshop. And one of the biggest takeaways they came away with that is just how important it is to story sell. You know, when you're talking to a realtor, don't tell them about your programs. But even when you show them the Edge app with the mobile, don't tell them about the mobile app. Just tell them about a story. And when you're telling the story, visualize it with the app. So when you're talking to realtors and you're telling them how you have a great first-time homebuyer conversation, tell them a first-time homebuyer story, have the app in your hand, and make it a story, not a technology conversation. So, by the way, Rick, while I post this survey around are you CCing realtors, because I want to know who's doing it and who's not, from a story selling perspective, do you have any stories that you use as part of just your conversations with clients?
I missed the last part of your question, Dave. I apologize.
From a story selling perspective, you know, I was proposing and recommending that when you're, you know, telling how you help people, do it around a success story. Tell a story about a client that you helped. Do you have any typical stories that you use on a regular basis, or do you have a strategy around that?
Yeah, I use a variety of stories. Every one of them is true. They may be, you know, mixed together, but I love telling stories, and I love using those things that happen. For instance, I had a customer who, one of the stories I tell is a customer who went to another lender. They went there in July of this last year. They were buying a house. They called me at the end of November. They told me that they didn't, you know, that they were supposed to close in 3 days and their lender still couldn't close them after they had started the process in July. I took the application and closed the loan in 11 days. And I actually had this lady on my radio show to tell that story because storytelling is so valuable. So I 100% agree with you, Dave. And so I think if you can come up with the stories, you can see people will listen when you're telling stories. They're much more likely to stay with you and tell stories as you tell stories because they get interested in it. So storytelling can be one of the most valuable things that you can do in the sales process.
So think about what are your stories right now, and when I set up the call at the beginning, how are your stories convincing realtors that you're going to improve conversion, make doing business with easier for you, and how are you making that tangible and obvious early on? So make sure you see a realtor on your next Edge experience. Remember, we are here to help you. As I said, all the notes from today's calls, the links, they will all be in our LinkedIn group. So if you have not already been approved, put a request in. We'll approve you immediately, and those will be available within the hour. Also, as a reminder, this call and the recording to this call will be in our YouTube channel. I do urge folks to make sure you just subscribe to it. When you go to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, there's a subscribe button, and if you subscribe to it, every time we put a new video in, you'll get an alert directly from YouTube letting you know there's a new video available. Also, every Thursday, no exception to this Thursday, 9 o'clock, we're going to be doing some deep training around Edge. I think it would be a good idea that we'll do a refresher on creating videos. And Jacob, if you're listening in, let's try to do something around the annual review. Since Rick is so passionate about the annual review, we talked about that a lot today. Let's make sure we hit annual reviews and video creation this Thursday at 9 o'clock.
No problem.
So,
Rick,
we'll cover it. We are beautiful. Rick, we've got a little less than a minute to go. Any parting words of wisdom before we wrap up today's call?
You got to work. So work and work smart. You can get everything done, and it'll really help you if you just put your mind to what you're going to do and get those things taken care of. Beautiful. Well, as you leave the call, if you could give us a vote what you thought of today's call on a good to great scale. Rick, as always, I think this was an exceptional call. I appreciate your wisdom and just your common sense attitude, and I look forward to our next interview. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate it, Dave. Have a great day. You too, man. Take care, brother. Thanks.